All right, good morning, BRAYN membership and guest. We welcome you and thank you for being here for our last convening of the year. We are happy that you decided to join us. And if you haven't done so already, please use the link in the chat to sign in. This will help us when planning future events, future convenings, helping us understand when the membership is available. Today, we will greet and affirm the organization, then jump right into our discussion with our panelists. Executive Director for the Gardere Initiative, Harrison, Executive Director for BR STEM, Eric Lewis, Chief Operating Officer for the Boys and Girls Club, Reggie Carter. I, along with the convening working group, will ask the panelists questions about acquiring, maintaining, and maximizing strategic partnerships. And if time allows, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. We will have BRAYN announcements and then say happy holidays and goodbye for now. Let's arm the organization with BRAYN convening working group co-chair, Cindy Bonin.
Good morning, everyone. We want to start off every convening by affirming the organization and grounding ourselves in what our goals are here. So BRAYN is a network for youth organizations that provide one or more of the following: after-school youth programming, summer youth programs, and or wrap-around support services for youth. Our BRAYN goals are to build the youth services field to improve how communities and schools work together to create more equitable outcomes for youth in the long term, and increase youth engagement in high quality out-of-school opportunities. The principles of practice are community. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's our goal here, is that we want to go really far all together in BRAYN. So the quality of our relationships and trust matter move at the speed of trust. Collaboration, we can fight for the scraps that fall off the table, or we can build a bigger table together. Collaboration is what builds the big table. And consensus, this process requires us to slow down, take time to build shared understanding, and value equity in decision-making. All right, back to you, Jasmine.
As mentioned earlier, we are joined by 3 youth development leaders in the Baton Rouge community to discuss procedures, analytical tools, and lessons learned when working to acquire, maintain, and maximize partnerships. I'd like to mention that at our June convening, we invited funders from the community to discuss collaborative funding and partnerships. To create a streamlined picture of the strategic partnerships process, you can watch it again by clicking on the link in the chat. You can also follow BRAYN on YouTube to view our content. Now we will have BRAYN convening working group committee member and recruitment manager for the Baton Rouge Youth Coalition, Forrest Middlebrook, introduce our panelists.
Good morning, everybody. Starting out with Dr. Harrison, Dr. Murelle G. Harrison serves as the Executive Director of the Gardere Initiative, a faith-based coalition that addresses substance use prevention and other social ills in a densely populated, unincorporated area of East Baton Rouge. Implementing CODCA strategies for community change with funds from the drug-free communities, the Gardere Initiative has partnered with the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office and Community Police Unit, BREC, and other relevant agencies to seriously reduce substance use and violent crime in the 3.39 square mile area. At the state level, Dr. Harrison co-chairs the Prevention Systems Committee and is a Louisiana delegate to the IC and RC. She is a retired chair of the Department of Psychology at Southern University and continues to voluntarily teach the prevention seminar course online. She also serves BRAYN on the organizing and steering committee, co-chairs the membership working group, and several ad hoc committees. Next, we have Mr. Eric Lewis. Eric Lewis is a native of Baton Rouge. After graduating from the College of Engineering at Southern University in Baton Rouge with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, he began working for Texas Instruments. Life and career opportunities eventually brought him back to Baton Rouge. Upon his return, Eric co-founded the Baton Rouge Black Chamber of Commerce and his consulting firm, the EFOD Company. A father to 4 children, Eric has long been a strong advocate for high-quality educational programming for all children. This passion is partly the reason for the launch of Baton Rouge STEM. Eric is also a graduate of the E.J. Orso College of Business at Louisiana State University with a Master of Business Administration. Prior to the founding of BR STEM and Apex Collegiate Academy, Mr. Lewis has launched several multiple nonprofits and small businesses, as well as having worked for Raytheon and McKesson as an electrical engineer. And lastly, we have Mr. Reggie Carter, a native of Alabama and 6-year veteran of the United States Navy. Mr. Reggie Carter has spent the last 20 years in nonprofit youth development and leadership with the Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Virginia and now Metro Louisiana, covering Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Gretna, Covington, and Slidell. From program leader to chief operating officer, he has worked hands-on in the areas of strategic planning and execution, program management, team leadership and development, hiring and recruitment, community partnerships, board development, and effective communication, to name a few. He has a great passion to see our youth walk in their full potential and to equip leaders who serve them with the tools to help them become their very best, professionally and personally. He still believes that it takes a village to raise a child, but we must also be intentional about strengthening, working closely with, and ensuring all members of our village are more connected and impactful. Reggie is the father of 2 teenage boys and the youngest of 5 children who lives by the mantra, love God, love people. Mr. Reggie, thank you for your service, and thank you all for being here today and agreeing to be on the panel for the November convening. And we are going to get right into the questions. The first question that we have for the panel is, what do you believe is the key to successful strategic partnerships?
Dr. Harrison, will you take the question first?
Oh, okay, I sure will.
Thank you.
I think the key to successful partnerships is mutual benefit. When I look back over the years of our partnerships with various groups, as was mentioned, one of the things I want to begin with is that the Gardere initiative is sort of different from most of the other programs in the sense that we are a community-based programs. So we have a collection of partnerships. For us to be effective, we had to partner with law enforcement and then with BRAYN to develop our park. And then we had other entities such as our churches. We are faith-based, and so we have 9 faith-based entities that support us. Let me just give an example. The sheriff always says this: we have been successful in this community in reducing crime because of our partnership with law enforcement. So it's been mutually benefiting to the people who live in the community, to our organization, and to the sheriff's office for our partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison, for enriching us on strategic partnerships. Mr. Lewis, will you answer the same question?
So I would, I would agree with Dr. Harrison and kind of expound. I think the word I was going to use was mission alignment. And so kind of understanding the purpose of our organization and organizations that we seek to collaborate with, it's just important that we commonly are mission aligned. And so, I guess an example that I would use, so one of the groups that we work with, we've created some programming around STEM and how sports STEM is embodied in sports. And so people normally wouldn't think that, but I think, the groups that we work with in that capacity are, 1, all focused on youth, and then 2, helping young people to see, there's different levels to success that they may not necessarily see in their own community. And so from VR STEM standpoint, again, there's a ton of opportunities in STEM, but as a community, we still struggle to educate kids in math and science based on the recent LEAP scores that came out. But we know that those opportunities exist. And at the same time, our partners with the STEM athletics piece, again, kids love sports, but there's a very few percentage of kids that go to that next level in sports. And so that was an opportunity, again, for kids that love sports but want to stay connected to it. And it also helped them to understand the connection between math and science with the sports that they love. And so they can continue down that path, but at the same time, it's a mechanism for us to encourage kids to get more engaged in math and science.
I love that. Engagement is so important. And like you said, aligning the mission, and Dr. Harrison talked about mutual benefits. Reggie, can you answer the same question?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's such great answers there, and it's really hard to add a much more to that. But again, I agree with both panelists there that being able to be mission aligned as well as values aligned as well, as far as like with the partnerships. I think it's really important, when you're working with strategic partnerships, that you maintain your identity as far as with who you are, looking for the greater good, again, for everyone. I think we're all, us that's in the youth development business or working with youth, we all have a goal of seeing our youth achieve. No one comes into this arena and has, aspirations for our kids to do worse or do less than. So if we all have that collective mindset of we want to see our youth achieve, be it in the area of STEM, be it in the area of social and emotional learning, be it in academics, whatever it is, sports, whatever it is, I think the partnership piece is extremely important because not one entity is an expert at everything. I think one of the Boys and Girls Club being around 160 years here in this Louisiana area for a little bit over 50 years. I think one of the things, and from where I was at my last organization over 100 years, it takes a village, and that literally means that. I mean, we cannot do it all by ourselves. So for those that are experts in, because one of our 5 core program there is sports, for instance. If we are not the masters of doing sports leagues, it's great for us to partner with organizations like BREC or with on our New Orleans side with NORD, for those that will help give us that great enrichment that we need. It's the same thing as far as like with STEM, because we are in partnership with STEM NOLA. And they come in at our one of our clubs there in Covington, do a phenomenal job, Dr. Mackey and his team, because we realize even though STEM is one of our strong suits as far as with Boys and Girls Clubs, because we have a phenomenal resource center there at our national office. I call it the mothership. But also having those people that can commit those resources outside of ourselves, that we can be able to just to make it even more dynamic, because we want to have the greatest experience possible for our youth. So that a lot of times, a majority of the time, will entail us being able to have to work with others.
Thank you for your answer, Reggie. I just want to share really quickly. Gay is so excited and impressed with your answers. She said it takes everyone. All members have a role in the entire body. So we will move on to our second question. Forrest, will you take the question, please?
Yes. So this question is a 2-part question. It says, what is your approach to acquiring partnerships, and are there specific qualities you look for when engaging potential partners?
Oh, I thought he was going to respond. You say, what is our strategy? I liked what Reggie just said about we don't have the resources to provide all the services that are needed for our youth. And we certainly don't have the funds to acquire those services. And so we like to partner with people. So when you say, what do we look for? If we want to say art, we look to the LSU Museum of Art, we look for Line for Line. Those are programs that need the children who want to work with children and youth. And so we look to them. the Louisiana LSU Ag Center and Southern University Ag Center. They are always looking for youth to provide their services, and we have them. So we look for those partners who can provide the services that our children and youth need in order to grow.
All right, so it sounds like more alignment, right, Dr. Harrison?
More
Making sure
alignment.
they're aligned.
Right, exactly.
All right, Eric, will you please answer the second question?
Okay, so I kind of view Baton Rouge STEM as a service provider. So obviously, like, we're specifically focused on STEM education, STEM exposure, STEM learning opportunities. And so we look for organizations that either have access to kids between ages 8 years old up to 12th grade, or back to Dr. Harrison's point, I guess looking for mutually beneficial ways to improve the quality of life for children in that same age category. And so those are probably the two primary aspects. And so, obvious examples are the schools that we work with. But then we also have a partnership with the city of Baker to come into one of their facilities and provide workshops, training, and learning opportunities. And so I think that's the key aspect. We try to focus on what's in the name, STEM education. And so outside of that, we're looking for entities. Again, so there may be programs or government agencies that are trying to provide a plethora of services to families. And so we try to look for opportunities to plug in STEM learning within that.
I'm certainly going to reach out to you because I like programs like that who are looking for children and youth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and Reggie.
Yes. I think the qualities that we look for. Now, I think Boys and Girls Clubs is one that's unique in a sense, because we do have such a wide range of programs that we do have. Close to about 50 different programs that Boys and Girls Club has across 5 core program areas. So where we have education, we have health and life skills, we have the arts, we have leadership and service, and we have sports, fitness, and recreation. So with that being a wide range of things, one of the things that we look for as an organization is those that are, again, that come with some, I would say some resources or looking to, provide some of the things that we can't necessarily dedicate a lot of time to, because again, with all of our different programs, it's run by our part-time staff, right? And some of our full-time club directors as well. So when you want to have a lot of outcomes that you're trying to achieve, and some of those areas, like with some of our health and life skills programs, like one, for instance, is Smart Girls and Passport to Manhood. Those are two particular programs that really, target our young guys and our young ladies. Where we have, program leaders that are trained as far as like how to facilitate the program, having entities like, I know our air director, I know Bobby Jones has done a phenomenal job of reaching out, with all his Baton Rouge connections, getting guys in, like our Omega Psi Phi fraternity, some of our fraternities and sororities, and some of the other organizations in the area that are looking to, have an impact for kids. A lot of times with some of the those other outside entities, they don't have the population that we have. Boys and Girls Club, we usually have, a good population of kids. And whereas someone that maybe just trying to start up or trying to get something going, they have the time. So it's that great alignment that we can have. So we look for people that have, again, that have some beneficial resources. We're not selfish at all as far as like with, want to be able to help out someone, be it a long-term established organization or someone that is, just getting started up. But just really looking to see making sure that they are, great at what they do. Because again, who we bring in front of our kids and who we expose them to, we want to make sure that we're bringing the best, because if we can't give our absolute best, we want to bring in someone that can do it even better than we can. So that's one of the things that we look for. And, I think it's just really important and just really, really important for us just to kind of just keep all that in perspective. So with Dr. Harrison and everyone else, and my other panelists here that works in STEM also, there could be some opportunities for us to work together as well as anyone. That's why things like BRAYN is so important, because it puts everyone in the room together. You know, when I was at my last organization, again, I got here in July, so I don't have a long history of being able to, you know, really expound upon partnerships here actually in the Baton Rouge area. But in my last organization, you know, I was part of a organization or a group called the Hampton Roads Community Foundation, and it was comprised of just a lot of nonprofit organizations in the Hampton Roads area, which covers 7 cities. And the great thing about that is when you are a part of that and you came out to those meetings, you were able to meet, you know, large organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs and Girl Scouts and things of that nature. But you also were ready to meet. And one of the greatest partnerships we had was with an organization that was called Sinkinson, and they dealt with illiteracy, just totally specialized in that and just providing that care, you know, for young people. So having that connection and being able to connect with, you know, organizations like that, even though they were some that were just starting up and just trying to get funding and things of that nature, and giving them a platform and an avenue where they could really, you know, dive into, because that was their expertise, and really come in and just help a program like ours, who was well established, but had no, you know, expertise in dealing with kids with dyslexia. So again, that's just one of the things that we look at, just what you're bringing to the table, how it aligns with us, you know, and how we can all just benefit and help each other.
That's right.
Thank you. So to sum it up, I'm hearing the approach is to make sure they're aligned, to evaluate the impact and look at their resources and qualities that you really look for is excellence. I'm hearing that across the board. So thank you all for your answers. I hope you all are taking notes. Cindy, you have the third question.
Yes, the third question is, how do you grow and maintain partnerships in the long term? So over the course of many years.
You know, when I saw that question, I just started thinking about some of our partnerships that we've had over the years. And I really think is the consistency and stability. First of all, we have the privilege of being supported by 9 faith-based entities. And so those entities are there and they know that we are going to be here. And that's good. Then when we meet new partners, such as Big Buddy, our Line for Line, and so on, they also recognize that we are going to be here. Our programs haven't changed that much over the years. We have an after-school program, a summer program, holiday program. And so they know that those programs and the children, our children and youth will be here for all of those programs. And we have a monthly meeting for everybody knows is the first Monday, for the first Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Now we are meeting through Zoom. Those meetings have been going on since we got started. And so they know if they want to hear what's going on in the Gardere community, you know, attend the meetings on Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month. And then they know that we are, you know, that's what I would say, just consistent and stability.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harrison. Mr. Lewis.
So Baton Rouge STEM hasn't necessarily been around as long as, you know, some other organizations. But I think, you know, kind of just what we do as individuals in maintaining relationships is making sure that, you know, we do what we say we're going to do, that we show up, that we provide the level of excellent service that was talked about earlier. And so I think those types of things begin to build your reputation, and it makes organizations want to partner with you. I think in a perspective of youth services, because I've worked in other organizations, and I think what's also important is to be able to maintain lasting relationships with the youth that you're working with. and they know that they can depend on you. And so as an example, so we have in-school, after-school programs, and then we also have Saturday programs. And so kids from the school programs may show up at a Saturday program, but it's because they enjoy what they're doing. They have adults as volunteers that they can depend on who are going to show up for them. And so I think that last part to me, because that gets directly to the individuals that we're seeking to serve. And so the organizations that they're served by know that they can rely on you. I think for me, what's very critical in the work that we're doing, especially if you look, outside of this room or this virtual room and the things that are going on with young people in our community, they need adults that they can count on. They need adults that they can trust, and they need adults that they know are going to show up for them. And so I think applying that to our relationships as organizations is what helps to keep them maintained and lasting. Because at the end of the day, and I'll just go back to the other example is, if we're working with the Boys and Girls Club and we show up for an event, we don't have enough materials for the kids. We say the rocket's going to launch and the rocket just sputters out. I don't think that he would want us coming back and disappointing his kids much longer.
Definitely. What I'm hearing is you have to be committed and trustworthy. Those are important pieces to having long-term relationships with partners. Mr. Carter, can you answer that same question, please?
Yeah, Mr. Lewis, I would say it would depend. It would depend how successful launch. I would say that. I would honestly say that. I think with the one of the keys to the long-term relationships, I think it is the same as in a lot of relationships. It's about being able to understand, that you have two entities that enter into a partnership. A lot of it is based off of the relationship with the individuals. So I think one of the things that's really important is that we always value one another. We always value one another, having that mutual respect for each other. I could be, a large organization like Boys and Girls Club that has, this year we will open up our 5,000th club, across the country, and if I partner with Mr. Lewis, who's someone that's, just kind of starting up, there's still a possibility of having a long-term relationship, because if I value Mr. Lewis and what he brings to the table, his expertise, he values what Boys and Girls Club brings to the table. As people, you have to always have that respect. You already said, having that trust, because it's just like our natural relationships. You have to have those foundational things. When you feel like you're being, I would say used is a word. It could be a strong word, but when you feel like it's a one-sided relationship, a lot of times those relationships don't really last long. So it's always about, both people coming, showing up, bringing their best, understanding that there will be moments at times where we don't have our greatest, like say when that rocket malfunctions, sometimes, and it's like, it was nothing that Mr. Lewis did wrong. He did everything absolutely correctly, but it was a manufacturer error that he had no idea of knowing about. So now, if me and Mr. Lewis have a good relationship, I look at him as a person. I look at him for what he brings to the table. I know that he's a person of high character, or high value, that he cares about my kids, and he will do and go above and beyond to try to rectify the situation. Then that relationship can continue on. So it's not just based off of performance. We have to understand that too. Of course, we want to produce and we want to make sure that we show up and we give and do what we say we're going to do, but also understand that we are people as well. So if you're a person that I know that you're trying to get yourself, you're trying to establish things and you're trying to move forward, and you just need just a chance and try to, to get those resources, or, you want to partner together for that big grant, really just put you on the map. Those relationships, they're absolutely, they're absolutely important. They're very, very critical. So I would say just having that mutual relationship, mutual respect for one another, understanding that, hey, we're all people, we have our days, we have our times, but also, it's like at the end of the day, we're all about the youth. And if we always keep the main thing, we don't come in with our selfish ambitions, our selfish motives and things of that nature, then the relationship will always go forth, because it's always going to circle back around to the kids. Our personal things that we carry with us, I may be having a bad day, I may be going through a bad season or whatnot, but I'm always going to try to show up and do my very best for the kids. If we have some grace with each other and understand that, then I think our relationships can go a lot further.
Mhm.
Thank you, Reggie, for that answer. Yes, you are right. We are people at the end of the day, and maintaining partnerships, that is a type of relationship. So important that we remember that, and we're trying to maintain partnerships in the long term. We need to make sure there's a mutual benefit. Dr. Harrison spoke of that earlier. And so I think, that would alleviate the being used, to making sure there's a benefit, but also I heard trust, respect, and transparency, because at the end of the day, we are all people. Thank you so much for your answers. We're going to move on to the fourth question with Mr. Emmanuel Milton.
Hello. So my question is, why is partnership important to you? We talked about like how to maintain relationships and things like that, but like, why is it important to you? And then, and I don't want to make it like too long-winded, but also like, why is partnership important to sustainability?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I'm going, again, I've mentioned we are a faith-based entity. And each congregation is unique in terms of what they contribute to us. So I don't try to compare one to say one does more than the other one, because we just appreciate what each one does. Say, for instance, St. Jude is has a large constituency. So they contribute $4,000 or $5,000 to our back to school extravaganza. I can't expect the same thing from a smaller congregation. So I just appreciate them. We have the Love Fest. And so our congregation, there are 400 gifts that we want to give. And we just ask them to do what they can. Then Faith Chapel, before the COVID, we could always depend upon them for their 3 vans for transportation. Since COVID, there was a limit put on it. St. John's let us use their space for our youth every month. So, I appreciate all of these entities coming together and contributing in their own unique way. And each one of them know how much we appreciate what they do. So when I need a letter, I can just send to all my pastors and tell them I need a letter, and tell them, and they respond. So I'm thankful for they realize it. And then that's the other thing I try to get them to know. If they could just understand how their contribution contributes to what we are doing in this community.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. Appreciation goes a long way. Showing gratitude definitely goes a long way. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mr. Lewis, will you answer the same question?
So one reason why they're important, so again, Baton Rouge is a relatively young organization, and trying to minimize overhead. So again, an example is a partnership with the schools, and then our partnership with BRAYN. And so we really wanted to do a summer camp, and we were able to get an agreement in place with BRAYN to basically utilize one of the gyms in the Zachary community. And so that allowed kids to have a STEM summer camp, but it also gave us the opportunity to reach more children than we would with just our camp. And so as a part of the partnership, we had access to the gym, but then we provided STEM workshops to various camps around the parish this past summer as well. And so I think that, that's an example of how, we both were able to grow our reach and the number of students we're able to serve, but also provide a unique opportunity that had not been presented to kids before. And so we literally had kids from as far away as Livingston Parish coming to the summer camp because it was specifically focused on STEM all day, every day. And so I think that's also an example of how we grow sustainability because again, REC has access to the young people we want to serve. They have facilities throughout the parish. And so hopefully if we can grow this, it'll provide the opportunity to create more larger summer camps, holiday camps, and help us to reach our goal of maximizing the number of young people in the Baton Rouge community that take an interest in STEM and want to go into the STEM fields.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for sharing. Mr. Carter, will you answer the same question?
Yes. So for me, partnerships, I think, is important because, it really is a great representation of our communities. I think when we're working with young people hopefully from a lot of diverse backgrounds, I know sometimes that's not the case. I know with Boys and Girls Club, currently we're probably about 90% as far as African American, but we have the desire and, want to be more intentional about, just broadening that, that demographic. But when you're working with, demographic or working with kids, I think it's great to have a good representation of everyone that's in your community. Our kids need to see that. I think it's just the great model for success. And just know that, hey, they need to see more exposure because it's that old thing of when, you have your kids, and you can speak to them every day. After a while, your voice can kind of become a little bit like a murmur, kind of like the Charlie Brown thing. But when you have those partnerships and you have other people that are coming in that are, impacting and imparting, into your youth and in your program, and a lot of times, again, it's, saying the same thing, but just it's coming from a different voice and different perspective. It really adds a lot more value, to your program as well. And again, I think we all need to do that just so that we don't, burn out. We're in the long game as far as like working with our youth. I've been with Boys and Girls Club for, just, a little bit over 20 years. And, there are kids now that are grown and have kids and married and are, back and are doing the very thing that I was doing when I first, interacted with them as a club director. So they're back doing the same thing. So it's a never ending cycle. I think that we have to, understand, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And these partnerships are super important because sometimes it gives us that moment to kind of be able to take a breath while someone else is coming alongside us and help doing the work as well. And as far as on the sustainability piece, it's really great to be able to combine those resources. One of the things that I've seen on the resource development side is a lot of times foundations and some of the bigger entities that are, the gatekeepers for these big funds, now, back in the day, it used to be I could come and then another organization come and another organization come and we're all asking for 10,000. Today they are looking more for partnerships and collaborations because instead of you coming and ask for 10,000, why don't you guys join together and you can ask for 30 together and you guys can be able, and we can be able to do more and have a bigger impact. I think when we're combining, resources and, this in partnership with this and in partnership with that, it brings in those bigger dollars as well. Because I think the big corporations and the big foundations, they're looking for that because they know that, okay, this organization does this and this organization does that. Like, okay, they're kind of duplicating in a sense. They have kind of some of the same stuff. Like, why don't you guys just join together and we can just send out a big, massive, check or commitment and be able to just to help everyone because we're all trying to do the same thing as far as like help our youth. And I think that sustainability piece, it gives us a little bit more people resources as well as the financial resources where we can go after those bigger dollars. So when we understand that and we can partner together, instead of us going for 100,000, we can partner together and, maybe go after 300,000 and it looks more attractive, and as well, it's more beneficial at the end of the day for all of our people, our staff, as well as our kids.
Absolutely, Mr. Carter, that's very helpful information. We have one more question, and I'm going to read that one. Actually, it's a statement. Give an example of how a partnership a partnership saved your organization money and what your organization is doing to maintain mutual benefits for all involved in the partnership. And we'll start with Dr. Harrison.
Reggie, as you were talking, the more I do this kind of work, I'm thinking about those 9 faith-based entities, and I'm like, what would happen if they just had one big building and they could do their church service whenever they got ready, and they could take all that other money that they're putting into buildings and give it to us to work with the children. But I did, to more specifically respond to your question. The proud executive of the Big Buddy program, I don't know how much you want other people to know this, but let me tell you, you know, the Gardere initiative budget is small compared to somebody like Big Buddy. Okay, so Big Buddy has like an accounting thing in place. The Gardere initiative does not have that. I don't even want to strive to that because again, that's like duplicating services. So then I'm partnering with Big Buddy, and it just works out very well in the sense that Big Buddy has an after-school program at Highland, and then we are the community partner. But just think, there could be community partners in all of those 21st century schools, and we would all work to do the same, you know, to accomplish the same goal, to provide these out of school programs for children in the communities. And then, you know, we don't have the burden of dealing with finances, and, you know, we just do our work. That's all we want to do here. We just want to provide the services to the children, and then let someone like Big Buddy handle all that other stuff that we don't want to deal with. And so that's what I think that would be, you know, and for those of us who are working together in BRAYN, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you, Mr. Lewis, because I'm definitely going to be calling you. But that's what we need to think about. How can we collaborate on a broader level so that we can reach more children? When I think about, oh my gosh, when I look at our children who come in the afternoon, and the thought also is always like, what would happen if we were not here? And so I'm thankful for the Big Buddy program, who's funded through that 21st century, and I hope they continue so that we can continue to meet the needs of our children and youth in the Gardere community.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Dr. Harrison. And it sounds like you're super grateful for that partnership with Big Buddy. And we definitely hear how it is saving the Gardere initiative money, time, and like you said, duplication of like resources. So
yes,
Mr. Lewis, will you please give us an example?
So our summer camp, again, was housed at a rec facility, which this is, I guess, goes back to Dr. Harrison's point as well. So, you know, as taxpayers, we have a facility in Zachary, or the Zachary area, that basically was not being used. You know, so we had, you know, we were paying for grass to get cut, the lights, the air, whatnot. And so there's a community, there was no program in there, so we brought the STEM camp there. But we don't have to pay for the rental of the gym.
right.
And in that same process, again, so, you know, we couldn't cook in the gym. And so EBR school system had the summer feeding program. But then it became an issue, how do we get the kids there to Northeast? And so there's a church in the community that transported the kids back and forth for 2 meals a day. And so it's basically 4 different entities working together to give kids in the Cheneyville community an amazing summer experience that, you know, they hadn't had, minus COVID, that they hadn't had for a few years. And so I think, you know, we save money on transportation costs, we save money on rental fees for the facility, and then we didn't have to pay food costs. And so I think the other value in that, which goes back to Dr. Harrison's point of mutual benefit, because again, the church, it was the church's van, had the church's logo and things on it. And so it was great because the church could show that they were doing things in the community. I mean, they always are, but it was a beautiful thing because they could put stuff on social media about them taking the kids to the school, and then other families that are coming for summer feeding program, they see that church out in the community doing active things in the community. And so I think for me, our summer camp was probably a really great example of that, because it saved us money, but again, it went back to that point of not duplicating services and a mutual benefit, because ultimately the kids got everything that they needed from 4 different entities this past summer.
Yeah. You know, I want to just share this with you, and I don't know what would work best for you, but we used to transport our children to the school for breakfast and lunch. But then after COVID, and we didn't have the use of the vans like we used to. So now we worked out with EBR, we pick up the breakfast and lunch and bring it to our site. And so it saves time, and then certainly it's more efficient than loading up 100 children, taking them there and bringing them back and so on. So, you know, something else, I don't know what works best for your community.
All right, thank you for sharing those additional thoughts, Dr. Harrison, and thank you for your answer, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Carter, will you please give us an example of how a partnership saved your organization money and what your organization is doing to maintain mutual benefits for all involved in the partnership?
Okay, well, this could be a real big answer. Like two different things with that, because one of our biggest partnership, and I think one of the biggest things that has happened with this organization is in the process of happening right now. It's a huge partnership that we have with the State Police Foundation, as well as with BREC. You know, we're going to be breaking ground here in a couple of weeks on a phenomenal, you know, multi-million-dollar facility there over in Howell Park. You know, it'll be the location of our newest club. It will also be, you know, our headquarters, what we'll have, as well as we'll have local agencies as well, you know, in that facility. So I think that's like on the largest scale as far as like with the partnership piece. You know, I would think, because again, I don't want to kind of go too deep in that, but that's a huge partnership for us as far as like being able to, you know, just, you know, get into an area that we have not been into as far as in North Baton Rouge, and be able to serve that community there. Working in conjunction with BREC and with the state police, and having a presence and just providing, you know, just life-saving services, you know, wraparound services. You know, we'll have some mental health there. We'll have some social services there, you know, even dental services. You know, we'll have, you know, a lot of different entities that will be operating out of this facility. You know, it'll be a new football field and all these other things. So we just think about it in that Howell Park area, and just, you know, just how it's kind of a hotbed, and there's not a lot of resources as far as like for after school or year-round services there. And there's some phenomenal people, some great people in that community that really want to see those kids, you know, have the very best. And we're just so fortunate to be able to step up and join in and partner with these great people, you know, the governor as well, and, you know, provide an opportunity for them to be able to have something very, very special. I think on a smaller scale, I think I've spoken to it before as far as with our partnership with STEM NOLA. I think they are a phenomenal partner with us. Again, I've had the opportunity of meeting Dr. Mackey about a little bit over a month ago for the first time, and just hearing his passion and just how much he's, just his story as far as like working with STEM and just all the things that he's accomplished, and just being able to, you know, come alongside. Because again, with the saving money piece, as far as like for the building, of course, it's a lot of funding that's coming there. We have given some, because we had, you know, a capital campaign they had for several years, but our contribution would not have been able to achieve what the rest of the contribution did collectively, if I can put it like that. So we were still waiting on just our contribution to have our own building, then we would be years away. But now with these partners coming in and seeing the vision and knowing that, hey, we want to provide a safe haven for our young people as well. And just everything just aligning, it's just the perfect timing and just the perfect situation. And again, just to fall back again with Dr. Mackey and his staff, just on the sustainability piece, just the financial piece that they're saving, because last week I was up in there with them when they were doing a project, and they were actually they made Bluetooth speakers like that actually were, by the time they started and by the time they finished, were absolutely functioning and were able to connect to their phones. I was in utter amazement. Like and these were kids that were from the ages of 9, and probably our oldest one was about 13. And to see them work there, and we had partners that came in from Chevron and work with these kids, and seeing them sweating and people wiping their brows and just trying to make it work. It was absolutely amazing. And that was something that, even though STEM is a part of our curriculum, we would not have been able to do that. We did not have the resources to do that, as far as to purchase all of those kits that they had, as well as being able to have the expertise to know and feel confident to teach kids through that process. So those are like 2 examples, one huge example, and then one, significant as well, but not as far as on the financial piece of how partnerships have helped us.
Thank you so much. That's exciting. Bluetooth speakers. That is impressive. I wish I could have seen that. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Thank you all for answering all of the questions that we had. I think the key takeaways to acquire partnerships is the mutual benefit, missions and values, and alignment. Mutual benefits comes up across the board. So when you want to maintain your partnerships, make sure there are mutual benefits, be consistent, follow through, and evaluate impact and excellence. And then when you want to maximize your partnerships, you want to make sure there's a mutual benefit, make sure there's trust, respect, and transparency, because at the end of the day, we are all people. We will now turn it over to the membership for any questions that you may have for the panelists. We can go in the same order as far as answers. You can either speak out loud or put your question in the chat. Even if it's a comment and not necessarily a question. I did see some comments in the chat box, so if you want to say anything out loud.
Yes, I have a question. I appreciate everyone's insight, and I am starting a new program. I mean, it started in 2018, but we're really at the momentum right now where we really need to elevate ourselves and have partners. And with BREC especially, how do you get to that point with BREC? Because I wanted to go through the correct orders. So I went through the manager, the supervisor, but how do I get to that point where I can be a partner? How does that come about? For anyone.
So what I did, I can't remember his name right offhand, but it's I know his last name was Smith. Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith, who I reached out to, and just basically had a meeting about our program, what we were, what our vision was and what we were trying to do. And then again, to Dr. Harrison's point, just making sure in the conversation to illustrate how it's mutually beneficial to BREC. And then we just kind of went from there. And so my specific ask was to be able to have access to a facility in a specific community. Just assuming, I don't want to make assumptions, but I mean, they have athletic programming, and this would be something different for Baton Rouge. So I think that'd be great. I mean, they recently hockey started to come to the young kids, and lacrosse is coming on board. So I think it would be something of value to BREC.
I just put in the chat, that Katrina Coots is the new community engagement person. And I can put her email in there, but I'm like you. When I started with someone different, with Richard, but that has changed over the years. So Breck is really trying to engage community partners, and Katrina Coots, I think, would be the best person.
Jasmine, I have a quick question. This is Lisa
Hold
Baptiste.
Wait, hold on, Lisa. Andrew had his hand up and then I'll let you go next. Lisa.
My apologies.
No worries. Thank you. All right, Andrew.
Hi, this is Andrew Ganishow with the Louisiana After School Network, and I don't know if most of y'all are aware that Wednesday the annual performance report for the 21st century programs came out, and the data was overwhelmingly amazing for the 21st century programs in Louisiana. For those regularly attending a 21st century program, there was an 80% improvement in homework completion and a 70% improvement in behavior. The big aspect that I noticed with the data was that those regularly attending an after-school program of 30 days or more showed significant impact. So I guess my question to y'all is, are you seeing any issues in your program participation as far as really reaching that consistent participation? Because that's what really came out in the data, was the 30-day threshold, getting students to, because if you get those students in there that regularly participate, there's a significant impact on them.
I think that's one of the metrics or outcomes that Boys and Girls Clubs looks and reports on as well. We have some great member tracking data and stuff over the years, and we also have this thing that's called NYOI. It's the National Youth Outreach or Outcome Initiative, where we actually survey our kids throughout the year, and we actually, and they're they kind of give their feedback as far as like how they feel about the club. And our overall objective for all of our clubs is for our kids to have, basically like an overwhelming, just an, outcome experience, just a dynamic outcome experience. So, and it's kind of, you're graded as far as like, how much they come and things of that nature. But I would say from when we started last year, and I know, we just merged as an organization with Southeast Louisiana, and us as Metro Louisiana. I think the thing that we have seen from, and this is just what's been reported to me, is from last year to this year, the attendance piece has been absolutely, we've actually increased by 100% as far as with our attendance. So that's extremely encouraging. I know, the COVID and all that stuff plays definitely some factors in that, but I think just having, those avenues where our kids are coming every day, and it is proven, like when kids come 3 or more times, throughout a week, then they're, exponentially times more likely to carry on and adopt the culture and, just the environment and just continue to come. For those kids that come, 1 to 2 times, they're still kind of like on the outskirts. So it's like really hard to kind of really, for them to fully embrace everything that Boys and Girls Club is trying to impart in them. But we've seen, and it's proven, just across the entire Boys and Girls Club movement, that when kids come 3 or more times a day, 3 more times, a week, then over the course of the year, then those kids are more likely, when they get on up into middle school, and we're still providing those services, which is what the big thing that we're doing now in our partnership with the East Baton Rouge Public Schools with our 21st century is to, to go, we're going to be starting up in Glasgow Middle. And our thing is to have a feeder all the way up to McKinley High, so that we can be able to track those kids from the time that they start in kindergarten, 1st grade, all the way up until they graduate. And when they come more often, more than 3 times a week, then that likelihood of them being able to stay in that pipeline increases dramatically. So what you're saying is absolutely true. We have a great start as far as like what our kids are doing, as far as having, again, 100% increase in our population right now. And so it's our job, to continue to provide dynamic programming for them, and more importantly, create those relationships and those connections. That's going to be the thing that's going to keep them more than anything else. Because if there's no, then there will be no correction, when we see those behaviors and those things like that. So that's the thing that we're really driving forth. And, I think we have the great team on board.
You're muted, Jasmine.
Thank you. We have several questions in the chat. Thank you, Reggie, for answering that question. Did Mr. Lewis or Dr. Harrison, did you want to take 30 seconds each and just add to that, or are we good to move on to the next question?
I think.
Sorry for hogging all that time. Sorry for hogging that time. Guys.
No, it's fine. You didn't hog it. It was a robust
good information.
Answer. Yeah,
I'm glad to know that you're at Glasgow.
All right. So Ms. Courtney Scott with Big Buddy wants to know, how do you prioritize funding for programs? And I will just leave it open to who wants to answer this. How do you prioritize funding for programs?
Well, I'll jump in and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I think for us, with our funding, sometimes we have restricted, of course, and non-restricted. So if those that may or may not know, when you have the restricted funding, it's restricted for just that particular thing that the funder gives it for. So if it's for STEM, then that's the only thing it can be used for. If it's unrestricted, then you can use it, as far as the need is for that particular club. So we'll use it because it's pretty cut and dry when it's restricted, because you can only use it for what it's supposed to be used for. But when we have just the overall, just unrestricted, how do we prioritize it? We first look at just our fundamental things, that the programs that we're trying to accomplish, because we have certain programs that we run in certain times of the year. Of course, we always want to look at the staffing piece, because you can't do any of the work if you don't have the staffing. So the way we prioritize it is, what is it going to look like? How many staff hours is it going to take for us to do this? We look at the supply list, of course, next, as far as like what's going to be the resources that's needed to take that. And sometimes that's when some of those partnerships may come in, like, hey, we may need, some extra people to come in and help run this program. So, hey, maybe we can have someone from XYZ or this organization or from this college or from this fraternity to come in and help in that regard, because we have such a small, maybe just a small dedicated amount that we can give to actual staffing. So that's where those opportunities like that come in, where, outside entities can help us, achieve what we're trying to do.
I would like to just add, Reggie, I agree with you. I'm so envious of your new place at Howell Park, but because that's going to be so good for that community. And we've talked to Breck about, we want a space, but of course they don't want to do another facility. And so when you talk about that, like for us, our top priority is the rent. We have to be in this community. We can't move to some other place. And then not only do we have to be in this community, we have invested with Breck in our backyard, the park. And so we have to be attached to the yard. So probably one of the largest, when you say funding, is the most consistent funding has been for the rent for the 3 units that we have in this community. So if we really want to be effective in this community, we have to stay here.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. I'm going to move on to the next question. Courtney, I know you had 2 questions. Let me move to Lisa's and I'll come back to yours if there are no other questions. Lisa Baptiste with Migrant Course wants to know, is BRAYN seeking a relationship with Breck such that we are able to present/outline membership offerings as an organization? And a short answer to that is we are in conversations right now at the organizing committee level. It was brought to our attention about a specific program that Breck has that focuses on rec parks with low attendance. And so we have not scheduled a meeting or talked about the next steps yet, but yes, we are seeking. And the next question is from Ms. Courtney Scott with Big Buddy. How do you keep your programs updated and engaging for youth or the community you serve? And so whoever wants to take that one, whoever thinks they can answer that one, how do you keep your programs updated and engaging for youth or the community you serve?
Mhm.
I'll jump in on that one real quick. I think with Boys and Girls Club, again, I think it's one of those things that we are so blessed and so fortunate. The organization has been around for 160 years. Our mothership is our national office in Atlanta. They provide a wealth of resources for us. We were actually able to take our entire full-time staff, all our leaders. Our club directors at all 9 of our clubs, and all across. We went to a leadership conference and they went to a club directors academy in Washington, D.C. And we've also actually had in some national trainers that come in as well. So the way that we do it is just we continually just kind of try to have a culture of training and just improvement and growth. Boys and Girls Club, I think they do a phenomenal job of on an annual, not annually as far as like changing up the programs, but every few years they will kind of tweak those programs just based off of the outcome and things that we give them, which is why it's so important to have these outcome driven programs that we do have, because from the data that we give, they can find out different ways that they can improve on it and make it better. So of course you heard the whole thing, garbage in, garbage out. So when we're reporting properly and doing the work and giving back the feedback, then it always provides avenues for us to be able to improve. And also, of course, listening to your young people, listening to what they need. When we're working with teams, it's a lot more important, because their voice definitely cannot be silenced. They have to be heard. We're part of a state alliance right now. We're going to be doing a teen summit next year, the end of March, where we have kids from all 4 organizations in the state. And last night we were on a call just talking with the teams and seeing like, what is it that you guys need as far as like, what are the topics that are really concerning you today? What are the things that you would love for you and your peers to come to that will impact you guys and be able to go back and share with your fellow teens? So I think always being able to have a pulse to the young people, what they need. Again, just always looking for opportunities to improve yourself.
So I just want to add, and kind of similar to his point at the end about listening to the young people. So STEM has a lot to do, obviously, with technology. And so giving kids the opportunity to see, the things that they're interested in, whether it be websites or apps, Bluetooth speakers, as he mentioned earlier, like those are the things that are interested in them. And so letting them see how the sausage is made is really what kind of keeps them engaged. Last night, at one of the Big Buddy sites, we were doing some coding and robotics. And I asked the kids, if they like sports. Two kids said soccer. And so we actually ended up they were able to create a video game using coding around soccer. And so those types of things and letting kids have kind of a hand in what they're learning and their activities is, I think, for me, how we keep things current and we keep the kids engaged.
Mm-hmm. I would just like to add to the consistency. We have a monthly meeting with our youth, and all they call it the church. Are we going to the church? When are we going? And we do a rotation of there's one class that we have to do because of our funding, and then we just add other opportunities in terms of career exploration. So might have roundtables with different opportunities, exposure. And that has been going on for about 5 years. And it has because the students are now looking forward to going to that monthly meeting. And Aishla was with us last month, and I told you she was a big hit. They wanted her to come back again, and so she can't join us on Tuesday, but she'll be with us in January.
All right, thank you all for your answers on how to keep your programs up to date. What I heard was training, student choice, using data to keep the programs relevant, and communication, monthly meetings. I'm sure teens feel like, you know, grown-ups being able to participate in meetings and talk about what's important to them. I know there are additional questions in the chat, and I encourage you all to take those offline. I can stay on a few minutes so that you all can swap information, or if you can just drop your information in the chat so that you all can discuss offline. That would be great. I am going to move on to our announcements, our BRAYN and community announcements, because I respect your time and I know you all have other things that you have to do with your Friday before the holidays. So let's finish the year strong by checking these tasks off your list. Apply for certification today. Certification of your organization ensures readiness to work in the school system next school year. The membership working group scored applicants in October and will certify applicants again in February to work in EBR starting in August 2023, and then in September to work in EBR starting in the summer. If you haven't updated or created an information page, please put it on your list to complete this week. This helps us bring awareness of the important work you do in the community. If you need technical assistance, please email admin@ourbrayn.org. That information is in the chat. Scott with Harmonize Inc. will be in town December 12th and is willing to facilitate a training on maximizing your information page. If you are interested in attending the training, please fill out the form that was just dropped in the chat with your contact information, and I'll send you details. As a part of your commitment to BRAYN, your organization agrees to work in a working group. Please sign up for a working group today. I will quote the ED of Humanities AMP, Dr. Anna West. BRAYN is an organization created for and by youth development workers. This means BRAYN doesn't happen without your support. Use the working group interest indicator form to express your level of interest for a working group. The link is being dropped in the chat right now. If you need assistance or have questions about the working groups, please use the same email address, admin@ourbrayn, and I will answer your questions or help you choose a working group. If you're not receiving the newsletter or other communications, please send an email to admin@ourbrayn.org so we can ensure that we have the correct email address on file. This is the last meeting of 2022. In 2023, we will start off with a conference. Details about the conference will be shared early December. The BRAYN members have spoken and we are listening. Based on survey results, BRAYN will have quarterly in-person convenings starting in 2023. Please be on the lookout for those calendar invites. The dates for all convenings will be shared in December. Summer planning is underway for many of you, and BRAYN is committed to coordinating the process. We're preparing for a summer programs planning session with EBR and need your feedback. Let us know what you need to be successful by filling out the form in the chat. The East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition will host its monthly virtual empowerment education meeting on Thursday, November 17th at 6 p.m. If you are interested in joining, please go to their Facebook page, which is EBRPPRC. This month's topic will be elections have consequences. On Saturday, November 19th, from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition will host its first general membership meeting at the EBR Library, Scotlandville branch at 7373 Scenic Highway. Immediately following the meeting, they will be at the Caravan for Justice. So if you are interested in that, it is at the Scotlandville branch library. Let's see, the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reforms Coalition Caravan for Justice is held monthly at 10:30 a.m. every third Saturday under the Badley Street overpass off of Interstate I-110, right outside the Juvenile Detention Center. And last but not least, 'tis the season for festival cheer as we promote goodwill, unity, and peace all year long. Join the America My Oyster Association Belize Affairs for a fun-filled, impactful evening of live music, delicious food, and community networking at the first annual Stop the Violence Holiday Gala. It's on December 11th at the Blend VR at 304 Laurel Street from 5:30 until 9:30 p.m. The tickets, let's see, for every ticket sale, AMOA will receive 20% of the proceeds, which will benefit the 2023-24 Youth Leadership Development Program. You can go to eventbrite.com, BelizeAffairs.com to purchase tickets, but we are also having the ticket link in the chat. If you want to know more about AMOA, you can visit their website, which was also dropped in the chat. That concludes the November convening and all announcements that BRAYN has, but we want to open the floor and give you all an opportunity to share if there are any events or anything that you would like to share, because we won't have a convening next month. If you can go ahead and raise your hand. I saw Reverend Anderson's hand first, so Reverend Anderson.
Good morning. Just a very quick reminder that there are multiple events going on around the community for those who may not have a place to go for Thanksgiving. And so wanted to make sure everybody knew that there are flyers, and I think I've sent them into you guys to share with everybody. But St. Vincent de Paul, of course, is having their event at the River Center, and they're also expanding to 2 other locations. So one of them's McKinley Alumni Center, and I'm gonna apologize, I'm not sure what the location is for North Baton Rouge, but just a really important thing for lots of people who may not even be economic. It may just be they're going to be lonely this year and they need to be with people. The second announcement I wanted to make, which is super exciting. I had mentioned on a couple of earlier calls that we had the opportunity to work with Dr. James Comier, who's doing some fabulous work on post-traumatic stress disorder for SAMHSA. And so his work in the community would already be funded. And we wanted to ask if the membership had any interest in participating in bringing Dr. Comier's team to Baton Rouge to help do some train the trainer and education on post-traumatic stress disorder, particularly as it relates to school shootings, that kind of thing. So just wanted to remind everybody to be thinking about that. And then last but not least, the Super Tax Day is coming up next year, and Dolores Hurst with the Capital Area United Way has already put out a notice for anybody who would like to be a vendor. But I particularly want to make a request to anybody who works with high school level students. Many of them work, and they have not necessarily learned how to do taxes, that kind of thing. So it's a great opportunity, not just to get that information out to them to participate, but for some of our organizations to reach out to them. So happy Thanksgiving. And I'm a brand new grandma, and I know that it has nothing to do with this, but I'm gonna bring it up in every room I'm in.
Thank you, Reverend Anderson. Brooke's hand, I saw your hand next, Brooke.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke. I am a program coordinator and prevention education facilitator at the Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center. This year for the holidays, we are hosting a holiday food drive for our clients that will benefit from food baskets for the holidays. So drop-off times for food items are Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, which are our hours of operation. You can drop off anytime from now until Friday, December 16th. We also are advertising this on our website, on our Facebook, on our Instagram. So you can look us up, Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center, on any of those platforms. And we appreciate any help we could get with it. We also have the items on our Amazon wish list. If it makes it easier for anybody, you could order it off Amazon and it'll be shipped directly to our facility. So thank you all so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you for sharing, Brooke. Bobby, your hand was next.
Yeah, my name is Bobby Jones, Area Director of Boys and Girls Club. Today we will have our Thanksgiving giveaway to our members. We had Chris Olave and we had Landon Collins donated 450 total meals to our youth, and so we'll be passing those out. Anybody have any muscle or anything like that, we definitely could use it. For Christmas on December 14th, we put together a Christmas extravaganza where we will have different entities and people from the community coming out to do things for create just a Christmas for our youth that some of them may not have experienced. So we'll have like a hot cocoa table. We'll have a cookie decorating table, a s'mores table, different things for them to go around. So that's on December 14th, and we will have both of those on Alaska Street break facility.
All right. Thank you, Bobby, for sharing that. Teresa.
I thank everyone for your announcements. Once again, we're just having a 5th annual winter clinic. It's going to be taking place December 10th. In addition to that, we are trying to raise socks and snacks for the Department of Children Services. They are really low on snacks right now for foster kids. And so that's just one thing. It doesn't cost anything to go to the clinic, but if you can donate socks and snacks, healthy snacks, we'd appreciate that. And on December 3rd, rugby is actually coming to North Baton Rouge. It hasn't been out yet. If you haven't heard, Southern University is actually adding rugby in 2023. And so this is a great opportunity to introduce rugby to the community of North Baton Rouge. And so we'll be there to play from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And also there will be a vaccination drive with the Oshner. So everything's going to be available. It's going to be held right in the Scotlandville and the Scenic Highway. What is that called? I forget. I apologize. But yeah, check it out on BR Youth Rugby, and we'd be happy to have everyone come out. And that's that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I don't think I missed any hands, but I'm just making sure that no one else thought of anything before we adjourn for the year. That sounds so. Okay, well, thank you all so much for attending the November convening. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you all soon. Please be on the lookout for newsletters because we will continue to communicate. Thank you all. Have a great Thanksgiving.